Address assignment is the process by which a device receives the address it uses to participate on a network. It sounds simple, but it underlies reachability, routing, access control, and many operational practices. Without reliable address assignment, devices cannot find each other, administrators cannot apply policy, and applications can break when addresses change unexpectedly. At a high level, there are two fundamental approaches to address assignment: static and dynamic. Static assignment is when an address is configured by hand and stays fixed until an operator changes it. It's predictable, easy to document, and useful for servers, infrastructure devices, and anything that needs a stable endpoint. Dynamic assignment is when addresses are allocated automatically, typically by a service such as DHCP. Dynamic assignment supports mobility, scale, and ease of management because devices obtain addresses as they join the network and release them when they leave. How does dynamic address assignment actually work? The most common example is DHCP for IPv4 and DHCP6 for IPv6. A device boots, broadcasts a discovery message, and a DHCP server responds with an offer that includes an address, lease time, and other configuration details like gateway and DNS. The client accepts the offer and configures the address for the duration of the lease. Leases are renewable. The client can request to extend the lease or release the address when it no longer needs it. Under the hood, DHCP maintains a pool of available addresses and tracks active leases, so addresses are not accidentally reused. There are other dynamic techniques too. Stateless address auto-configuration in IPv6 allows devices to generate addresses based on network prefixes plus interface identifiers, often combined with rotor advertisements to learn the network prefix. In cloud and container platforms, orchestration systems hand out internal addresses dynamically as instances spin up and down. Overlay networks and service meshes also perform address mapping and virtual addressing to decouple logical service identity from physical network location. Why does address assignment matter? First, it directly affects reachability. If a device has no address, other hosts cannot route packets to it. Second, assignment policies determine stability. A long-lived static address makes services easier to locate, while short-lived dynamic addresses allow flexible scaling and mobility. Third, address assignment is a building block for security and governance. Firewalls, access control lists, and monitoring systems often depend on address information. Inconsistent assignment complicates visibility and policy enforcement. There are key features and trade-offs to understand. Predictability versus flexibility is the primary trade-off. Static addresses are highly predictable but costly to manage at scale. Dynamic addresses are easy to scale but require robust mechanisms to track and map addresses to identities over time. Lease times are another important feature. Long leases reduce churn but can tie up addresses. Short leases improve reuse but increase DHCP traffic and transient address changes. Address pools and reservation mechanisms let administrators reserve addresses for specific devices while still using a dynamic system. Address assignment also interacts with address translation and overlays. Network address translation hides internal addresses behind shared public addresses, enabling address multiplexing but breaking end-to-end addressing assumptions. Overlays can present virtual addresses to applications while mapping them to ephemeral physical addresses underneath. This decoupling improves mobility and resilience but adds mapping complexity. Operationally, address assignment implies several best practices. Use static addresses for critical infrastructure and services that require a stable endpoint. Use dynamic addressing for clients, mobile devices, and cloud instances. Employ reservations or DHCP fingerprinting when you need predictable addresses within a dynamic system. Monitor lease utilization to avoid pool exhaustion. Document exceptions and ensure DNS records follow address changes so name-based discovery remains reliable. Finally, consider how address assignment affects troubleshooting and observability. When addresses change frequently, Logs and metrics must correlate ephemeral addresses with stable identities such as usernames, instance IDs, or device serial numbers. Good audit trails and DHCP logging make it easier to trace issues. Also, consider security. Unsecured DHCP can be abused. Network access control and DHCP snooping help ensure malicious devices cannot obtain addresses or impersonate services. In short, address assignment is the practical mechanism that converts devices into reachable participants on a network. It balances predictability, scalability, and operational convenience. The choices you make about assignment, static versus dynamic, lease duration, reservations, and overlays, shape how easily your network operates, scales, and recovers from change. That is, address assignment.